9-game homestand. You talked about defending the home turf, and certainly your guys did a great job of doing that over the weekend against Brown.
Yeah, teams that are postseason teams that have successful seasons, they're really good at home, and we've played solid baseball. I thought this weekend, sometimes the scores are a little bit misleading, but I thought we did what we were supposed to do on all aspects, offensively, defensively, and on the mound. And if you do those things, you get a chance to win some ball games.
And certainly, speaking of your rotation, three guys that you expect big things out of this year in Pistorici, Cleverott, and Simon. They all give you 7-inning starts, and then Jason Monda gives you a pitch count start last night, his first career start, and gives you 4 shutout innings.
Yeah, we feel really good about those guys, and anytime, probably any team in the country. But when you get a 7-inning start, by your starter, you feel good about it. Especially with what we think about our bullpen, how we can shorten the game up. So Joe gave us, Joe started us off on a good note Friday night, and Tanner I thought was a little bit better than him on Saturday, and Scotty was good on Sunday, and Jason was really good for his first career start on a limited pitch count on Monday. So when it came to the pitching part, there wasn't much we could do differently.
The offensive approach this year, I know Coach Ware's come in, maybe talk a little bit about him, and you guys had to replace a lot in a Taylor Arden and a Derek Jones. Certainly Yale Rosen and Nick Tanielu have done that very well, but it seems like an Adam Nelbowich, a Trace Tam-Singh, a Trex Stemp, those guys have all contributed. You guys are now second in the country in batting average coming into this week. Did you think we could be this good that quickly?
I didn't know if it would be second. I thought we'd have a better offense than last year, and sometimes you don't like saying those things because it's instantly a shot at Taylor or Derek or Patrick or Kyle or Tommy. No shot at them. Those guys, man, I'd take all 5 of those guys back in our program right now. I just thought 1 to 9 we'd be more balanced, and then we also wouldn't be as new. Brett redshirted last year, had already played in his career. Trace had redshirted, had already played in his career. Nick and Benny, we both thought those guys were going to be really good players, and they redshirted last year. So it wasn't like these true freshmen were just showing up helping us. Obviously, Trek's off to a solid start offensively for us, but we've had some guys that are in the program. I think Coach Ware does a phenomenal job with our hitters. I really love what he's doing, and with help from Coach Naughton and the players. It's about buy-in, and it's about a team offense. And sometimes you'll face somebody and you worry about those first 3 or 4 hitters. I've always wanted that team offensively that 1 through 9 they could put pressure on you and they had a role and they could do something. And I think Coach Ware has done a great job of instilling that in this team.
And then let's look ahead to Stanford. Everything about Stanford speaks excellence, the history of the program, and then certainly they've got a guy in Mark Capel that turned out an awful lot of money to come back, but I know Joe Pistorici's not in his class given where Appel was drafted last year, but you got to be looking forward to that matchup Thursday night.
Yeah, if you're a competitor as a coach or as a player as a team, like you want to face the guys that are the best, and I can consider Mark, obviously with what he's done in his career, and then obviously could have been the first pick in the draft, assuming last year. I'm assuming he could have been, and he obviously did turn down a lot of money for whatever reason. He's back at Stanford, and it's great. The following weekend, Utah's going to have a guy, and UCLA is going to have a guy with Pletko. Just you go down the list. Everybody's got a guy. Mark just happens to be a guy that has a little bit more acclaim than other people. He's probably got big league ready stuff right now, and when he does sign this year, if that happens, I'm assuming we'll see him pitching in the big leagues very, very soon. I'm actually hoping one day that we don't have to see him in a Stanford uniform. We can maybe see him in a Mariner uniform. So, but that's why you coach in this conference. That's why you play in this conference. It's the conference champions, and you get to play against the best people, and our guys will be excited about it.
I know you talk so much about one game at a time, even boil it down to one pitch at a time. If you come up with a series win this weekend, which is always the goal, if you come up with a series weekend, you'll have wins over Arizona State and Stanford. And we don't know how everything's going to play out, and everybody's going to eventually play everybody. But what does that do for your program if you have series wins over those guys, and how much confidence it might instill in your guys?
It puts you at 4-2 in the conference in the big scheme of things. Our league this year, it's Utah the following week. I think the following week after that it's Arizona, and then it's Cal, and it's UCLA. You don't want to play any of them. You're not like you're excited to play everybody, but it's not like one team you're trying to pick out to play. We have 9-week season left. We have 9 weeks straight. Our bye is done. Some other people have byes throughout the year. We don't have a bye anymore. So we have 9 weeks against some great, great teams that are well coached, and we're playing teams that have high expectations for themselves. There's teams in our conference that at the beginning of the year they're trying to go to Omaha and win a national championship, and we're not just talking one in our league. There's multiple teams in our league, and there are teams right now that are playing like they're Omaha caliber teams. So every single weekend you have to be ready to play. And I think that's another great thing about our conference. There's no rest, and every week you got to be ready to play, and that's fun that you have to prepare your team that way.
And then last question for me, and we'll turn it over to the media, but Saturday will be a really special day at Bailey Brayton Field. I know you spent a lot of time and effort to get everything in place for an opportunity to retire John Olerud's number.
Yeah, I mean, everybody in this Whitman County, any of the Cougs out there, please show up to watch us play, especially on Saturday. I think what happens is, I think Coach Bill Moose has done a great job of trying to, reconnect the past with the present, and we know his philosophy on athletics. Well, Cougar baseball has a long history of success, and lots of great players have come through this program. There has been no greater player than John Olerud to come through this program. People don't realize this guy had the greatest single season in the history of college baseball. It's just phenomenal what he did, and obviously his big league career was unbelievable. And we all, as Coug fans, we got to watch him, and from being a Blue Jay to a Met to a Mariner to a Red Sox his whole career. But to be able to have him come back and have our team around John is great. Is a great. I've been around John a number of times, and we're talking about such a class person and his family. They're really, really tremendous people. And then to have the opportunity to be on the field to watch his number being retired, that's something that's really awesome too. I just you get chills thinking about it, just because I just feel really lucky on a daily basis that I get to coach the team that he had one time played for, and lots of other players too. It's been awesome. So hopefully the people can come back and cheer John one last time on our field for all that has done in his career, what he did at Washington State, and the positive that he put on this program. I mean, when you think about the great players in the big leagues, and people talk about where they signed from, what school they came from, I mean, think about all that John has done, and he's always done it with class. So that's a positive for Washington State University. Everybody knows he was a Coug, and so just all the positive press that John and his family has brought into this program. I just think it's the least that we can do.
Ben, do you have any questions for Coach?
Yeah, Coach, with as good as Jason has been pitching this year, do you have any thoughts on making him a regular starter, or when's the next time we might see him out there?
We limited him yesterday just because his pitch count isn't up tremendously yet. But we know he can do that. We really like our three starters, but if Jason can outpitch those three guys, we can put him in the rotation too as well. He's been a very, very valuable guy out of the bullpen for us. So he's going to pitch important innings, and sometimes it's in the eighth inning, sometimes it's in the first inning. He could start, he could middle relief, he could close. We don't know exactly what we're going to do with him. We just know he's so very valuable, and we need to use him as much as we possibly can on the mound.
Now, you already mentioned Stanford's pitching, but what do you think about their offense? On paper, they're not the greatest offensive team, but they have had some pretty stout opposition already.
At this point, they're dangerous. Stanford University is an unbelievably dangerous team, and sometimes when you look at numbers, you have to look at the opponents who they've played. Obviously they didn't score a ton of runs against Rice. You have to look at Rice's pitching performances. Rice doesn't give up a lot of runs. Same thing with Texas. Same thing with UNLV. We played UNLV last year, and they had some young arms that we thought in a year or two were going to be really, really good. And UNLV went down and played well at Stanford, and they played well because where they were out on the mound, they pitched really, really well. So they're a really good offense. They just have faced some really, really good arms, and hopefully our guys, our pitching staff is up for the challenge.
On Tuesday against Gonzaga, you talked about the lack of effort and the lack of competition from your team. Was that something that you really saw turn around against Brown?
I thought our intent was better, and I thought our focus was better. I didn't think we gave away pitches. I didn't think we gave away at-bats. I don't think we gave away innings. I don't think we gave away much. I think we stayed dialed in for the entire weekend for the most part. And Tuesday we didn't. I think a lot of people had a problem with maybe my response to that game. But if you know anything about baseball and you watched us play on Tuesday, we weren't ready to play. And it's my job as a coach to ensure that our team is ready to play. So when people show up at the ballpark, they understand that this team has been coached up and they're ready to play. In the first 5 or 6 innings, we weren't ready to play, and we showed some moments during that game. But you can't do that. You can't just show up when you decide to show up. Great teams show up all the time. They play 9 innings, and if the game goes in extra innings, they play 10, they play 11, and I hope that was the most important message that was delivered to this team is that. You play the don't get ready for somebody, be ready for somebody. And I understand that going down to Arizona State with a nationally ranked team and winning a series, I get, that's a positive. But those games are no more important than the game we played against Gonzaga on Tuesday. And I believe this truly in my heart, that if we were as focused on Tuesday as we were Friday night at Arizona State, I think the outcome would have been different. That's my opinion on that. I could be wrong, but that's my opinion on it. So I hope that message was delivered loud and clear to our team, and I hope it sunk in.
And last thing for you, Coach, do you know if John Oldham is planning on being there on Saturday?
Yeah, John will be here. John will have his number retired. His family will be here as well. We moved it up. We were going to do it at a different weekend in April, but I think his family was leaving the country on some type of trip, so it was important to have them there as well. A lot of people forget that Dr. Olerud started the legacy for Washington State University. He was on one of Coach Brayton's first teams, and he was the first Olerud, John Olerud, that played here. So he will be here. We'll retire his number. John will throw out the ceremonial first pitch, and it'll be an unbelievably great day for the Cougar Athletics and the Cougar baseball family.
Tom, did you have anything for Coach?
Was that for me?
Yeah, Tom, did you have anything for Coach?
Yeah, sure do. Coach Tom Rohr here from ThurstonTalk.com. I'm going to ask you a couple questions about your Capital High School trio. And going off of Jason's first start, why at this point of the season are you guys starting in his career, and what were your impressions there in his first start?
Well, we just had used him out of the bullpen, and he plays center field for us. He hits leadoff. He plays first base. He does so many different things, and we have three starters that we're really comfortable with. But he really just started pitching against in December. I know he pitched a lot in high school. He had not pitched here at all, so you can't just throw a guy in the starting rotation because his pitch count's low. So we wanted to be able to extend his pitch count a little bit yesterday. I don't know what his future is, how much he's going to pitch. I think he's going to pitch a lot because he does it easy. He fills up the strike zone. He can throw multiple pitches for strikes. Yesterday, any type of tight situations he was in, he got bigger. He didn't get smaller, and he just has that presence about him on the mound, and he's always in control. He's very, very calm, and he throws strikes. Those are three characteristics that you want in any pitcher that you have, and then you make him left-handed, and he throws it up to 90 and has angle. Jason's got a lot of great things going for him.
Yeah, and it seems like at the plate, his power numbers have really improved this year. And what sort of improvements have you seen from him since the beginning of his career? Is it just getting more at bats and going against these talented pitchers in the Pac-12, or what are your impressions on his progression?
Yeah, if you look at Jason, he's been a 3-year starter in the Pac. He spent 2 summers in the prestigious Cape Cod League, so all those at bats are adding up for him. He's a really talented guy. I just think he works at it, and he's, like I said, when you work at the game and you're a good player and you're a good person, you're rewarded. And he's starting to be rewarded by the hard work that he's put in. So, when you have talented players like Jason, you just know the more opportunity that they get, the more success they'll have, and that's the type of player he's going to continue to turn into with the more opportunity that he has.
Being a 3-year starter his junior year, have you seen anything leadership-wise, a change in that aspect?
A little bit. He's a little bit more vocal. Jason's not the most vocal guy that you'll ever run across. His greatest leadership qualities is, he leads by example. Jason Monda has done everything we've ever asked him to do, off the field, in the classroom. You don't get the opportunity to coach many people like Jason. He's an unbelievably great kid, I have a 10-year-old and 9-year-old daughter, and I don't want them to grow up too fast, but if they were 18 or 19 right now, I'd be trying to put them right in front of Jason Monda because he's just that type of kid. So, I don't have anything but unbelievably great things to say about Jason, and we'll miss him, whether it's this year or the following year. When he is gone, he's left a really, really positive mark on this program, and it extends farther than the baseball field.
And this year you get to coach Michael, his brother. What's it like coaching a pair of twins like that? And what's your relationship with their father, Greg, if any, who I'm sure you know is the former WSU player?
Well, ditto about Michael. We don't have the history of Michael because he was at a junior college first, but talk about an awesome kid. Like I said, with my 2 daughters, if they could marry the Monda brothers, she'd be really, really happy. Michael is probably the most unselfish guy on our team. He's our 3rd, 4th catcher. He plays left field. He comes off the bench. He pinch runs. you can't have a good team without guys like Michael Monda on the team, because he just makes us better in all aspects, and he's always ready to play. And all the same things I've talked about Jason off the field, in the classroom, I mean, ditto. I mean, Michael they're the same guy, except one's right-handed, one's a little shorter, but, they're the same type of people. And you know where to get it from. I mean, Greg, in the coaching world, sometimes you'll deal with people that have a huge, huge opinion on how I should do my job and things like that. And sometimes when you've played the game at a high level, you think you have that same opinion. Greg Monda has played the game at a higher level than 99% of all the parents and the outside people that I've talked to have played. And he doesn't have an opinion on how I should do things, or he's just an awesome guy too. He's just, he's a hardworking person, great family, just wants his boys to have a great experience. I don't think he's ever pushed baseball on them. He played 7 years in the minor leagues up to AAA. You'd have to pry that out of him. He's not the type of guy that's going to divulge information about himself. They're great people. He's got a great wife, Donna. They've kept their boys really, really grounded. Like I said, they're an unbelievable family. I'm so glad that the Mondas are Cougars through and through. I think Greg's got, feels like he's got 38 brothers and sisters, and they were all Cougs. I think Jason and Michael live with cousins on campus. So it's a great, great Cougar family. And like I said, we're thrilled that they're all part of the program, whether they're playing good baseball or not playing good baseball. We're just thrilled that they're a part of our program.
And their high school teammate, Kellen Tamas, it seems like he's developed statistically into one of your better guys from the bullpen. What have you seen in his progression, and does it help knowing that you have a guy like that who can come out of the bullpen and go against attack-role batters?
Love Kellen. Kellen is you want to write a story about Kellen, because he's a guy that we convinced to walk on. He was kind of a guy out of high school that most junior colleges really wanted. We convinced him to walk on. He almost got cut because he wasn't good enough. He came in as a senior. He was just burnt out. He caught all summer and he threw all summer. And when he showed up as a freshman in the fall, he just wasn't ready. Just physically wasn't ready. He was just really, really beat up. And all he did was work at it. And I'll never forget this about Kellen. His first outing against South Alabama down in Arizona, he must have given up like 8 straight hits. He didn't get anybody out. It was an absolute mess. And it didn't faze him. Nothing phases Kellen. He just went back to work. He was frustrated by the day that he didn't pitch well. He went back to Pullman and just worked his tail off. I think his next outing was against Stanford, and it was just unbelievable. I think he came in and struck out their 2, 3, 4 hitters. I think majority of those guys are in pro ball right now. He just kept building and building on it. And he's had great summers. He's had great, he's worked at everything he's ever done. And he's our go-to guy at the end of the game. It's kind of laughable at times when people talk about his height and, because he's 5'8". He just doesn't look like the typical pitcher. But if you look at his numbers and you look at his success, he does exactly what a typical pitcher out of the bullpen closer should do. He's a bulldog. He comes right at you. And I'm most confident when he has the ball in his hands. And the reason why I'm probably most confident is because he's competing. You want your players to compete at a high, high level, and you want them to be prepared. He's always prepared, and he's always competing his tail off. And now he's got really good stuff to go with it. He gets that rap sometimes. He's just this little tough guy. Well, he's also a little tough guy that's throwing 92 with an 84-mile-an-hour hammer, and he's got a changeup. So he's got the arsenal to back up his toughness and his competitive nature and his preparation.
And it seems like you got this pipeline from the Olympia area, since your time at WSU, and obviously with your coaching background in that area and being from, the Aberdeen, Coquitlam area as well. What is it about that area that produces talent? Do you think it's the coaches, the league the kids play on, they're just their general work ethic?
I think it's all of it. We're proud that it's considered a pipeline. It's an important area to us. We're going to go anywhere to get players. It doesn't matter what area they're from. But Coach Swinson's from Olympia High School. He's my pitching coach. Mm-hmm. One of my assistant coaches is Mike Naughton from Curtis. Obviously, I grew up in Aberdeen. I was fortunate to get my first coaching job ever in '98 at Capitol High School. So, I grew up in that area. I played for Olympia Pepsi, and I played for the Centralia Yardbirds. So we know what type of players come out of that area, and hopefully. A lot of times when you're looking at the values of the kids and those types of kids, they like Pullman. It's a great college town. It's a blue-collar area, and I think that area is as well. So, we're going to continue to do it. Adam Conley was an Olympia High School player. He's knocking on the door of the big leagues. We signed a player in the fall from Olympia High School that's going to be a good player for us. So if they're good players in that area, we hope that our kids are coming over here in Pullman have a great experience. So that the Jason and the Michael Mondas and the Adam Conleys and the Kellen Camises, those guys become our best recruiters, and hopefully those guys are spreading the Cougar love in that area, and they all want to be Cougs.
My last question for you, Coach. Obviously, tough situation at Olympia High School with Coach McDougal. I'm sure you're familiar with Coach Creighton, who's kind of taken over there, former WSU player himself. Do you have any comments on that situation and any luck to wish them in terms of this season?
You're right. Unbelievable, tough situation. I was fortunate enough to see Todd and Julie and their family in December, and our thoughts and our hearts and our prayers go out to that family. I've been so impressed by the strength of that family and the positivity from that family and that community. Coach McDougal he's an unbelievable person. And I think and I realize and I hope that community and that school realizes too, when he's obviously not coaching there at the time right now, they realize what they don't have at this moment, and they realize all the hard work he's put in. And I wish that team all the luck in the world. And when they step on the field, I hope that they realize that they're not just playing for themselves and playing to win a state championship. They're playing for a guy like Coach McDougal that set the tone at Olympia High School and really turned that into one of the powers in the area, and he did it the right way, and he does it the right way. And I want that team. My advice and my words to that team was just fight like he's fighting. He's fighting with everything he has. That's just the type of person that Todd is and his family is, and just know that when I put my head on the pillow at night, my prayers go out to that entire community, and I hope this ends in a positive.